Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 65 of the Discussion 5! Haha, yeah! It finally worked. Oh man, all that planning. Alright, 4 more episodes until our big celebratory
historic
In the Nude YouTube episode. Be super sponsored by Manscaped on that day.
Yeah, that's going to be a fans-only episode. Woo! Yeah.
Alright,
you get to see our hockey sticks and pucks. Go ahead, man.
We're here to talk about the 5 most pressing matters of your Detroit Red Wings. And we come to you thanks to the Hockey Podcast Network, and we are the Brothers of Discussion. We do talk pro wrestling on the Brothers of Discussion podcast. You can check that out on bodpodcast.com and brothersofdiscussion.com. We have our joint Instagram account for the Detroit Red Wings podcast, and and our pro wrestling show is at brothers_of_discussion. You know what? No coffee in the house. Wife and I went to we'll do our local shout outs later, but I got a red eye, and I swear sometimes I feel like I'm gonna have a heart attack when I have a red eye. I still feel tired. I don't know if it's just too much caffeine day to day, but anyway, all right.
No, I had a little THC chocolate covered blueberry, and I had some red eyes this morning. Kind of a different one than what you're used to, but
yeah. I that's a whole other thing. I think I brought up on this show too that my daughter scraped out my eye. When we were ordering coffee, they asked me what size, and I said 22 ounces, and the lady stopped and went, "Huh?" And I was like, "Does that say 22?" So yeah, thanks to my daughter, I'm gonna need glasses because I can't read.
Also, a quick shout out coffee wise, just drinking Bones again. This is the shark bite flavor, so it's like a little bit of spiced rum. Really good.
Nice. Yeah, I do have the old. I've gotten bombarded once I started looking for coffee online. Now I've been.
Are you getting the Bones coffee all over? Yeah.
That and every other coffee company. So I tried Oak and Bond. They do barrel aged coffee. So they have bourbon barrel aged coffee is one of the ones I have, and then a Cab Sauv, a Cabernet Sauvignon, and the Cabernet Sauvignon. I will say this. I'm sorry, Oak and Bond. You're probably never going to be a sponsor now. It is bad. I mean, it's straight up just tastes like grapes. And I don't like grapes. I don't like grape candy. Yeah, you know what? I'm not a huge fan of grapes. I'll eat them if they're out because it's just, it's like a grape.
Man.
But, I mean, who
Matt
needs
taking
it?
a shot at grapes.
Yeah, who needs grapes? But yeah, it just tastes
Matt's chirping at grapes as he skates by on the bench.
But it is, it's more like grape candy. You know what I mean? It's not, it's like grape jelly. Grape jelly covered...
If you don't like it, you might have to send it my way, if only because I'm really enjoying this other flavor of Bones coffee. It's peanut butter and jelly, and it's supposed to be kind of peanutty, and then there's kind of a grape flavor to it too.
Well, they're actually a pretty smart company because they deliver the coffee in an aluminum can. So instead of doing the regular packaging, they've gone they can mass can it just like Coca-Cola. It's pretty smart. But I'm not going to give it to you because I've turned it into a toy for Addie. So she just shaking the can. She's got the hard beans. It's really cute. All right.
Addie, friend of the show. Do we get all the platforms out there?
Yeah, make sure you check out our YouTube page. Yeah. Today if you're watching on YouTube, you've noticed that we're joined by Bill Daly, Matthew Schneider, Gary Bettman, and Donald Fehr. So thanks for joining, fellas. Greatly appreciate it. This is obviously from the press conference that was yesterday. A whole lot of nothing for the Red Wings to talk about. But this is the best transition we can do. Is the next interesting thing happening for Detroit is going to be the NHL draft on October 9th and 10th. Yay! So we were just talking oh my God, what are we going to talk about for the rest of the year? Well, we're going to get creative and try and find something to talk about. But at least today, we get to say that the draft is happening October 9th and 10th. Return to play is August 1st, but who cares? But I mean, not for Red Wings fans, who cares? I guess
you get to watch some hockey, but I mean, the Red Wings are going to be doing the same thing as us.
I think it's great. They're going to knock out the 5-game series by October 9th. Definitely October 9th. By August 9th. And
I hope so.
And August 10th, they're going to do the draft for pick 1. So I just, the turnaround for that is crazy, considering how long it took for us to figure out where we were drafting, even though, I mean, I guess you could make the argument we've known for months that we were definitely going to draft at number 4. But, damn, do I want to get into that again? But yeah, so August 10th, we'll figure out which one of those lucky playoff teams, as it was also announced, is going to get Lafreniere. So just a fun press conference for Red Wings fans, considering the other announcement for this return to play is every team that's returning to play is a playoff team. So for marketing purposes, which is why they made that announcement, believe it or not. So if you're a team, like when the Red Wings were saying they're 25 straight years of playoffs, that's why they're doing that. That's why they're making that announcement. But doing that, people like the hardcore hockey fans don't look at it from a marketing perspective. They look at it from, what the fuck? Now this means a playoff team's going to get Lafreniere, which is kind of silly. I think if we all thought about it for a second, it's not like whoever was 16 and below, like whoever those 16 teams making it to the playoffs, I guess the second round this year. But I mean, there still would have been all those teams that would have qualified for the first pick. So it's still, you know what I mean? Like, after this qualifier round, those teams still would have existed. It might not have been the same list of teams, but still would have been there. A part of me is angry, and I know the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to get knocked out in the first. They're going to get knocked out in the qualifying round, and then they're going to get Alexis Lafreniere. Do they really expect? Are the Penguins really going to lay down and say, you know what, this isn't our year. We're going to get Lafreniere. I mean, I just don't know.
It's such an investment, because like this season, even if you win the cup, it's going to be a yeah but situation. Yeah, but there's a couple star players who tested positive, so they didn't even factor into the game. So it was just whoever managed to pass the most, pokes in the brain, that team won. So as long as the Pittsburgh Penguins, fail a couple brain pokes, they as their super duper stars, get a little bit longer in the tooth, they're just, gonna have luck shine on them again. And they're gonna get another generational talent. It almost feels inevitable. It's gonna happen.
I know. It is pretty wild though, like if this wasn't fixed. Which I mean, look, why would I bring up that it's fixed? 1, I'm angry. 2, if you were a multi-billion-dollar organization, would you leave it up to the fates? Would you leave the NHL just up to some balls bouncing around in a thing? No, because if you really felt that was good enough, then you would just give the first pick to the last team. That, like, this NHL draft lottery, and the people that just shoo away, like, oh, come on, like the NHL would do that. No, that's the thing, because not just the NHL would do it. Every league does shitty things. Every organization does shitty things, and they do shitty things until they get caught. So it's just a matter of, like, playing this game. What's the shitty thing the NHL's doing? And when you play that game, and then you're like, well, would it be possible that they fix the draft lottery? I'm not... Jesus. I mean, I know I sound insane, but, I mean, come on. Are we really going to sit there and say, like, there might be some legitimacy to, like, shitty things and shady things the United States government has done in regards to, like, moon landings? But no, it's impossible that the NHL would ever... No, this is the NHL draft lottery. This is... This is tops, guys. This matters. They would never flood that.
I've still yet to see an explanation for why we can't watch the ping pong balls come out of the machine. I don't know why.
No, Mike,
all it would do is legitimize the entire process and give us faith that what's going on is something with integrity.
Right.
But then, even then, I think it would still take another level of detail to be like, well, I want to see each of the ping pong balls go in, and I kind of want to weigh them myself to see if they're each the right weight, because the lighter ones might shoot out, faster. So maybe, the Red Wings keep getting light balls, so they keep popping up at 4, and they're not at the bottom of the barrel for number 1.
So I don't know if you've seen. So they release this crazy video every year of Gary Bettman like holding up a newspaper and it says the date on it, and then they go through this. 5 ping pong balls come out of the machine, and then that number says then they go to a guy who's at a computer. And he goes through, all right, so these 5 numbers came up. He types in those 5 numbers, and then they know which team wins that pick, like that number 1 pick.
Yeah, well, how do we know he's opening the Integritas file? And you open up the Pittsburgh Penguins. So it looks like, they drew number 1. Oh,
whoops. It's like I tweeted out. I said I believe more that the draft lottery is fixed after seeing this video. Like, the fact that they have Gary Bettman hold up a newspaper, I laughed out loud, and I was like, all right, no, this is definitely fixed. Why would they go through the trouble of picking up the latest Wall Street Journal and having stupid Gary hold it up? Look, and again, everybody, maybe it's even over Gary Bettman's head, but this group of super rich people, even if it's not the draft lottery, they do not let this league just go up to chance. They don't. And other sports leagues don't. There's shitty things that happen with companies everywhere. And if you are light and fluffy and fuzzy and rainbows and lollipops, I don't want to burst your bubble, so just keep on, enjoying the day and hopping on gumdrops. But goddamn, it seems more unbelievable to me that the NHL isn't doing something shady. Mike, they also come out in the open and do shady things. Like Bill Daly saying, listen, 1 positive test, we're not shutting down the league, okay? So I might have taken
How many positive tests?
I took it a little too far on Twitter, and I said, I continued the quote for Bill Daly. And I said, we're waiting till an actual person dies before we stop playing. And we're not going to count wives and children or extended family or any front office officials. It has to be an actual player. So, yes, I took Bill Daly's words a little too far. But, goddamn, that's what it feels like.
It's just madness, because I think besides the death, that would probably go a little ways towards shutting down the league. But I think if he should just say, like, we're 1 positive Alexander Ovechkin test in the Stanley Cup Finals from shutting down the league. If it's a good enough player to get people's attention, like a name people recognize, boom. What would the Capitals even be like? Come on, how are we gonna even? We should be waiting 2 weeks. How are we gonna just play without our best player? What if it's like a whole line that catches it? Because those guys all hang out together. What if the whole top line catches COVID?
I don't know. And the weird thing too is that you can get punished.
Real quick, like the way that they're going to try and crunch all these games into a short window. So it's not like we can really afford to wait 2 more weeks because you're going to be having the draft almost immediately after. Like, I think on the website here, NHL actually had something up to date. Who knew? If they're going to schedule, in Toronto and Edmonton, these bubble cities, and they're going to try and crunch all these games. They said there's a potential for 52 games played over 9 days during the qualifiers. That's insane. It's almost guaranteed that there's going to be, I'm not going to say a death, but it's almost guaranteed that a good player is going to get sick.
I would throw out there, are there a ton of Broadway stars in the world? No. It's not. I mean, there's a larger collection of like, bank tellers. So the point I'm making is that there was like a major Broadway star that just died this past week, from COVID complications, where he wasn't an old guy by any means. He was the only reason I really heard about this story was because he's friends with Zach Braff of the TV show Scrubs, and I listened to their podcast. Yeah. So it's just like, it's one thing to go, all right, even if one of these guys gets it, they're not going to die. It's still fucking possible. And that's not the problem. I mean, look at the fucking old farts behind me right now. Like, they're going to be there too. And they're making the decision to put this to play. But still, you don't sit there and look at Bill Daly and his shiny bald head and go, God, I want him to, no, I'm not even going to say it. I don't want to say it. I don't want anything bad to happen to those four guys behind me, especially Matthew Schneider. He's done nothing wrong. He sat there at that press conference. He was nice and he was a good quiet boy. But yeah, you don't wish anything bad to happen to these guys. So even them being around this stuff, like they're up there. Like Gary should be the last guy. Like, he's an old fart. If he gets COVID, he's got a good shot of being one of the people that is mortally affected by COVID. Not to mention the fact that it's still possible to die at a young age from COVID. So I don't know. We can talk in circles. We've been complaining for a while, and when August 1st comes around, the big question that was asked on another one of my favorite podcasts was, okay, you can be the person that's against this happening, but on August 1st, what are you going to be doing? Am I going to be sitting down in front of my TV while I'm still jobless?
Watching 3 to 5 hockey games a day?
Right. And they're Mike, for the first time, they're staggered, so you can actually watch all the games and not miss a thing. Well, so it's going to work out perfectly for a hockey fan that you can just sit there, a couple of beers and a bag of popcorn and not move from the couch for, 9 straight days.
Yeah, you do want like one of those portable plastic bladders, I think, so you don't have to move. But I would say,
bag?
Yeah. Well, there's also those like plastic, like it's almost like a kiddie pool, but you can pee into it.
Yeah.
I think my reference is going back to like the 1910s. You would have a little honey bucket next to your bed.
Honey bucket?
Outside of a honey bucket. Yeah, you pee and poo in it, and you pour it out the window at the end of your day. There's a lot of filth in the streets. But I would just say the players ultimately want to play. Nobody has a gun to their head. Like, I think they're like, this is my paycheck. I don't know how many more years you can even do this job, it just depends on Father Time's allowance for your physical limits as a human. So yeah, if they want to do it, I guess there's not really anything we should say to stop them. I mean, I make a conscious decision to still go out to eat. Like, I'll, go through a drive-through. I'll, get carry out. That increases my risk. But I could see people wearing masks and gloves, and I am, and you sanitize your hands when you open the food and then you eat it. I guess it's a calculated risk. So if they're going to get poked in the brain, and majority of these guys are passing, and on the other side, I just want to make sure, like, if somebody says, you know what, I have a family member that I live with who, whatever they have plus COVID, could be, severe, critical, terminal even. It's not worth it for me to come back. Then that should also be totally fine. I guess some players are, getting shamed. I don't know if it's that weird, like, hockey toughness, where you gotta
be there for the team.
Get your teeth knocked out, have, torn muscles and,
Yeah, that's a player He's picking his name on the back instead of that logo on the front. Bullshit. Fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's dumb. I mean, if it's, we still don't have all the facts. We might find out that we all have COVID and this is the end. But, I can't blame those people. So it's ultimately their decisions. I can't shame a guy for not wanting to play. And I can't really shame a guy for wanting to, make that paper,
Yeah, and this thought just popped in my head too, where it's like if the decision to go back to play is this easy, it should also be as easy to stop play. Like I don't want to see the Stanley Cup final game, and it's like, in honor of Austin Matthews, who lost his life this season. Like I hope it's as easy to say, you know what, we fucked up, we're done, we're shutting this down, because even though we have a pretty tight bubble, it popped. All right, so I think we've got some other stuff planned for this episode, and I think everybody knows how I feel about our commish. But, Mike, if that bubble's popping, it's not because of your Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0, because that thing... that thing keeps you nick free. So if you've got a skirt around a bubble and you need it nice and tight,
absolutely
make sure you're cutting it with the Lawnmower 3. Okay, that's a terrible transition because nobody's really cutting bubbles, but everybody's cutting their pubes. Well,
you can shave a balloon.
A good percentage of people cut their pubes. All right, so what are we talking about here, Mike? The banter's not working out so great.
I'll say my most prized possessions are probably my PlayStation 4, my Nintendo Switch, and my Twig and Berries. And I have all sorts of people play with my PlayStation 4 and Switch, but I only trust one other entity with my Twig and Berries, and it is the Manscaped Lawnmower 3.0. I trust that thing with my life. I'll even do it with my eyes closed. There's a little light so you can kind of watch your trail as you're moving along. I'll do it with my eyes closed. I don't give a shit. I feel safe in that thing. It kind of feels good. I look forward to when I need a fresh man scrape with the Manscaped.
Yeah. No, I take it apart and I use it as a sheath when I'm not cutting. I take all the blades out. I take the motor. That what is the is it 7,000 RPM? The 7,000 RPM motor with the quiet stroke technology. I pull that out and I sheath myself because I feel so safe and warm in the arms of the Lawnmower 3.0. Now, this thing will last you 90 minutes. Mike, you mentioned that wonderful LED light that's going to shine where the sun don't normally reach. We've got our charging stand that's the rapid charging technology through the USB charging options there. And what we want to give you guys is an offer here for 20% off one of their packages with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use promo code THPN. That's for the Hockey Podcast Network. Use promo code THPN at manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping so that you can bring the Lawnmower 3.0 to your home and start whipping that thing around. Woo! Your Twig and Berries with your eyes closed.
Well, it's funny because they say that, the battery lasts for 90 minutes. And, unless you're like super duper hairy, you're Antonio Cesaro in WWE. You're like, why would you even need to do it for 90 minutes? This thing's so efficient, man. You finish in like 5, but you just keep humming around because it feels good.
Well, our next spot here, we like to do our local restaurant shout out.
Yeah.
I'm today enjoying Uptown Coffee Coffee House. And, of course, I hate bringing up where I live, but it is in Howell, Michigan. It's within walking distance of my house. They're great people. They supported Black Lives Matter, so this is a good company in Howell to support. So there's a lot of young people working there, young owners. So that, yeah, they were out there helping when we had our protest, believe it or not, in the center of Howell, and they were there to support the youngins who obviously, when they're looking for a place to drink coffee, they've only got a few options in Howell. So the wonderful cinnamon roll and sour cream donut we had there this morning too, my wife and I. So highly recommend the cinnamon roll donut. It's pretty good. Coffee top notch.
I'm going with last night's dinner, local eatery here in the Ferndale and Berkeley area in Michigan. That's the Shawarma Castle.
Woo!
Right? You're going to leave there feeling like the king of shawarmas because the food's delicious, the service was great, They were super diligent about being safe with everything: gloves, masks, the big hockey boards when you get your food. Even when he did the money exchange, gave me the bag. He was gesturing out with a little sanitizer to give me a little boop on my way out the door. Came home, spent about $35. Just got smorgasbord of different Middle Eastern treats with the grape leaves, the hummus, the garlic sauce, the fatouche. I always get outvoted. I'm the only one who eats tabbouleh, so we didn't get tabbouleh. Son of a bitch. And then chicken shawarmas. Great product. Can't wait to go back. And my order was ready in like 10 minutes, and it was an 11-minute drive, so I really had to rock it over there. But Matt, with that said, I think we're going to talk a little bit about Yzerman's track record in the draft.
And it has to start. I think I only want to pull one quote because we had a lot from the Yzerman press conference from a couple weeks ago, but obviously we didn't record last week, so now we're 2 weeks away or 2 weeks into the future from this press conference. So we're not gonna hang on it too much. It was more important a couple weeks ago, but he wants to grab two to three players from this draft, and 3 might be asking a lot, because we're going to go through Yzerman's track record with the Lightning going back to 2010. And that quote is so important because he said it when he first came on board. And I think the difference we get to think about here or plug into Yzerman's plan of 2 to 3 players is that we are collecting more draft picks than he ever would have needed to do with the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first couple of rounds. And then on top of that, we're going to have pretty early picks where that chance of you landing that game changer, the guy who's going to get close to, you want to get over that hump of like 3/4 point per game for a guy to be super effective. Get closer to that point per game is, I guess, the easier way to put that. For somebody to be super effective in your lineup, so that's maybe where that 2 to 3 figures in. But what we're gonna talk about, it looks like Yzerman was pulling in 2 players per draft. It wasn't just like this guy played hockey. They had significant impacts for at least one season with Yzerman and his team. Oh my God, I'm being told that. Oh no, because you signed in with another account.
What happened?
We only have 10 more minutes with this because you signed out and signed back in. It thinks we have 3 people talking right now. All right, well, here we go. Let's see what we can do. Jesus. Whew. All right, let's go, everybody. Podcast in 10 minutes. All right.
Okay. Go, man.
So enough rambling. Let's talk about Yzerman through with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And Mike, I don't know how you want to do this, but we could just start listing guys off. But I think the first things first is that we can easily say between 2010 and 2016, Yzerman did bring in 2 guys per draft. And it's something right now where you look at the Tampa Bay Lightning, and because of what he brought in, at least 2 players per draft, I mean, they're tops in the league. So I think a lot of people, kind of jump on like a Stamkos name and say, well, he didn't bring in Stamkos. But he brought in 2 of the best forwards in the NHL right now, that weren't even in the first round. So I think that idea of making sure that you have, I don't know if you just want to say it's good scouting or, picking guys at the right time, but that mentality of knowing you need to land 2 to 3 players, I mean, it definitely paid off. And the bigger name was 2011, but we'll start in 2010. Brett Connolly's the first pick, or the 6th pick in the draft, but the first pick for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and Radko Gudas. So I just made mention we're not going to bring up guys that weren't just getting games played, but I think what I mean is they didn't just get like 1 game played in the NHL. So these are guys that, for a good portion have affected the NHL. And that's the other thing too. We actually have guys on this list that aren't even Tampa Bay Lightning. So I think it's important to just say these are guys that affected the NHL. And I think whether or not you're talking, are they going to help did they help the Tampa Bay Lightning? Did they give the Tampa Bay Lightning opportunities later to draft somebody else, and here one of the examples we have a great example of one draft pick or one player being traded to pick up another guy that looks like he's going to work out pretty well for the Lightning. But anyway, getting back to 2010, I think we start with two pretty solid NHL names in Brett Connolly and Radko Gudas. But I just can't. Let's just jump into 2011 because now we get to talk about Nikita Kucherov.
Oh, you want to talk about Vladislav Nemesnikov? That's my boy. We go way back. No, it's Nikita Kucherov, man. Maybe he's like a Datsuk. I know it's not quite as deep, obviously, but like a Datsuk find where I can't believe how many teams would just mortgage their future to acquire this guy at this point.
Right.
He also carried my fantasy hockey team a couple of years in a row because for some reason there's the magical season where he just popped out of nowhere and then people thought it was a fluke, so I got to draft him again in the next season. So yeah, big fan of that guy. I think you definitely got to give Steve credit for finding a megastar at 58th overall in 2011. Yep. And obviously when we redraft that year, pretty sure he might go top 8. Let's go that far at least. Yeah, like you're saying, it's just you want to have examples of. We're gonna see Steve obviously draft at 4, but if we're getting big hits at 27, we're getting big hits at 58, and the Red Wings just keep accumulating these second, third round picks. This is the kind of evidence you want to see. This is the kind of draft production you want to see. So it's inspiring. It makes you feel a little bit better about what's in store for our team here.
Yeah, and I think the point we just need to keep coming back to is that they've got so many holes, so that if Yzerman is just sitting here and he kept talking about how we didn't land the first pick, and he's like, well, I'm not surprised. It's kind of just how this would have worked out statistically. Like for Yzerman, the plan is never just we're landing the first pick or we're getting a first round pick that's going to change the team. He knows he has to expand the reach. And he did so a couple times in the next season where now Slater Coco, I'll say this. We talked last week or 2 weeks ago about using the state-of-the-art simulation of the NHL game. I've picked up Coco, and it's gone pretty well in NHL 20, where he actually helped me get a Stanley Cup. Now he was my seventh defenseman, but I give everybody time with the cup, so I made sure that he was in the forefront of the picture. Put some of the other guys that know they're going to be around for a few more cups. So I'll say, at least from the perspective of NHL 20, that's how that worked out. But Vasilevsky he's still a first round pick. So all those arguments I've made about goaltenders in the first round get thrown out the window with Vasilevsky. And the only argument I will continue to make is that you don't take a goalie in the top 10 because it's still way too up in the air and a coin flip of a guy being good. But
but I could see Yzerman maybe bundling a couple picks to move up and snag that guy. What's that kid's name? Damn it! He's a 6'8" monster goalie.
Askarov. Jesus.
Yeah, I knew you knew it.
God damn it, we look so now. Fucking dumb.
I'm not worried.
Yeah, I know you're not.
We got Askarov. Don't worry about it, man. We were going through. Yeah, you're making commentary there about getting Vasilevsky in the first round. I think for me, it just there's always these rules with drafting. Like you have to do one thing, you can't do the other. There's a process to this, and seeing Steve pass on forwards, last year and get our boy Mo Seider, who looks like he's going to be a find. I wouldn't be surprised to see something like this out of Steve, to see him make some, sort of transaction to move up and, potentially get, what's projected to be the best goalie in this draft in Askarov. So it's just he's setting that precedent. That's what we're trying to do with these past drafts.
This was also they picked up Cedric Paquette, who's not breaking doors down with points, but I mean, this is a guy at this point in his career who's gonna hit 400 games played in the NHL, and that's nothing to sneeze at. And especially a guy who was drafted in 2012, he's not near playing. We talk about like guys breaking records for games played when we looked back at some of the older drafts. So obviously he's not at that point. But 400 games in the NHL, and he's drafted pretty late. This guy comes in at pick number 101. So that, I mean, there's three guys right there that are at least affecting the NHL. But we got to move a little bit quicker here. We have less than 2 minutes.
Let's do it. This wasn't a monster year. Coming up next was Adam Ernie, Jonathan Drouin, a couple of solid wings. Not even
on Tampa anymore. But we know where Ernie is, and then Jonathan Drouin doing some good work over in Montreal. You look at a guy who's a third pick. Is he panned out to that point? I mean, I think the Red Wings wouldn't be thrilled to say that our fourth pick this year plays as good as Jonathan Drouin because we had such a shit year. You kind of hope to get the game changer that's going to push you over. But this is a guy that becomes a piece to the eventual finished puzzle, not exactly the game changer. And I can't stress enough how important that is. All right, just rolling along here. Anthony D'Angelo in 2014, he becomes a trade that gets him a second round pick in 2016 that becomes Liber Hayek. I just want to throw that in there because we're going to get to 2016. I thought that worked out pretty good. But also 2014 was Braden Point, who was the big restricted free agent, possible pickup this past season. We've got less than a minute here. So 2014, working out great. 262 points in 295 games for Braden Point so far. I mean, he's one of the top forwards in the league. So it's nothing to sneeze at there. And then 2015 is Anthony Cirelli and Matthew Joseph. Again, very young in their career. And as we see in 2017 and 18, we just don't have enough time to properly measure these guys. But I think what we've done is at least collected two names from each draft that have affected the NHL to the point of playing more than one hockey game. They've actually all played, they've all played over 50 games. Hey everybody. So as you heard, we tried to wrap up there a little bit, but just to kind of finish off that point, even though we lost that, Zoom gives you 40 minutes if you have more than two people in a meeting. Well, unfortunately, Mike's connection didn't work out in the beginning before we even started recording, so it assumed we had three people in the meeting because he signed in again to the meeting. That would make his old account and then his new account and then myself. There's 40 minutes. Boom, done. All right, but just to kind of wrap up here where we were going, you've got in 2010, Brett Connolly, Radko Gudas. 2011 was Nemestikov, Kucherov, Andre Palat. 2012 is Koko, Vasilevsky. 2013, Drouin, and Ernie. I mean, I know we're looking at Ernie in the roster now, and, maybe we've already made our judgments on his playability, but I still think that it's good enough to say that this is a guy who's affecting the league, like we tried to term it. 2014, Anthony D'Angelo, who's a half point per game player right now, and Braden Point, who's, I mean, as we all know, is the huge potential, could have been a restricted free agent pickup that ended up sticking around with Tampa Bay. 2015, Anthony Cirelli, Matthew Joseph. 2016, Brett Howden and Liber Hayek. I will say, even with the last year we just mentioned, it's probably still too early to make the proper judgments on where these draft picks are going, but definitely way too early on 2017 and 2018. So the game we wanted to play was, what do you see in the 2019 draft? And the possibilities for us locking up just two players from that draft. And that's what's so huge. Now, Yzerman had a lot... the amount of draft picks he had, I mean, this is one of the largest amount that he's had since he's been a GM. So the possibility of hitting that third draft pick is actually pretty good. If you look at the statistics for him having those 7 picks and landing at least 2 guys. So now he's getting 10 picks, I believe, off the top of my head, and that potential for landing that one more guy just went up. And I think that's how he's playing that game, and that's why it's always about collecting those draft picks, so that it's not just because I think what we're seeing is he can easily pick up 2 guys per year. that will fit somewhere, even if it's a fourth line guy, or if we're talking about a seventh defenseman that can make a difference in Grand Rapids as well. I think that's still, easily that can be attained. And as long as Yzerman, he's not getting frustrated by the fact we're only landing, or we fell back to the fourth pick, and he's still sticking with this idea that he came into the Detroit Red Wings with, was the draft is where we're going to build this team. I need 2 to 3 players from the draft. Here's the proof that it's super possible to get the 2, land more picks, you upgrade that potential to land the third guy. But I think you still want to look at the past draft and go, all right, we landed a Moritz Seider. There's a lot of defensemen in that draft. There's some pretty good potential on the forward side. And then when we move into this next draft, do you want to, as Mike put it, do you want to trade up and maybe try and get Askarov if he continues to fall back in the draft? Or, which I don't think is going to happen, or do you just continue to build up your amount of draft picks and try and play the game of, I know maybe first round isn't attainable, but, picking up somebody late in the second round and that potential for another Nikita Kucherov, God, doesn't that sound great, right? And that wasn't a year where Yzerman had 10 picks to choose from. So, all that said, I think the evidence is there. If Yzerman was continuing to interview, if it was an ongoing interview with the Detroit Red Wings, which I know he wouldn't even have to interview to get that job, but that's what you'd come in and say, like, this is my track record. My plan is to make sure that you guys get 2 to 3 good draft picks every year, and here's what I've been able to do. And it's important too that some might argue there aren't so many holes on the team that we're going to need 6 or 7 years of draft picks, but you want to continue to build up, as Yzerman did, that core that you can continue to build the team off of, but also some talent that you can trade away, so that when the time comes, you can start to build up your team at the trade deadline when you're making your final run for either a playoff spot or building up your team for the cup. So all of that put together, that's why this is going to be so important for Yzerman. And again, I think we all know how important the draft is, but this is that evidence to say if there's any guy that has a plan and is stuck to it, it's Steve Yzerman. But just want to remind you guys, check us out on Instagram, brothers_of_discussion, to see both. We've got the Pro Wrestling Pod and the Detroit Red Wings on there. And then you can find this podcast everywhere, and including we have our episodes up on YouTube. So if you're looking at my face right now, you obviously know that we're up on YouTube. But yeah, check us out, subscribe, rate, and review anywhere you can, and let us hear what you think. All right, sorry again for the running out of time on Zoom. Greatly appreciate everybody who's tuning in, and we will be back next week to get back into our redrafting game. All right, have a good one, everybody. Hi everybody, this is Matt Klink of the Brothers of Discussion, reminding you that you can find the Brothers of Discussion at bodpodcast.com, brothersofdiscussion.com. Find us on Twitter at bodpodcast, and of course we are bringing you content every Thursday, if not during every Monday Night Raw, every NXT show, every AEW Dynamite, every SmackDown, every pay-per-view, every major show happening in the United States. The Brothers of Discussion are covering it, so if you want good wrestling coverage, come to the Brothers of Discussion. Thanks, everybody.